Do it. Hi, everyone. This is Miley Martin from Student Activities at Fresno City College with another FCC Spotlight for Asian American Month at Fresno City College. Joining me today is John Cho, the legendary John Cho. Hi, John.
Hi, Miley.
So, John, it's so good to see you. It seems like we've done quite a few things this semester, but always great to say hi. I love your background, by the way.
That's the background I have for my Chinese culture class.
Oh, I love
It's
it.
actually a painting done about like over 500 years ago. And it's a picture of Guan Yu's character from Romance of the Three Kingdoms.
Oh.
It's kind of like to this side. It's kind of cut off, but anyway.
Well, John, you've been teaching Asian American Studies at Fresno City College for, I think, almost 30 years, you said?
Pretty close to,
Getting
because it was like
close.
about full-time, like 21 years, and then part-time 8 years before that. So that's pretty close to 30.
And you are a legend at Fresno City College. In my mind, I've been here since 2006. And I wanted to know, John, so April is a month of Asian American activities. We share culture on a huge scale. When did you start sharing culture at Fresno City College? How many years ago? I know it was a day, then a week, and then a month.
Okay. Well, since you framed the question that way, I was teaching part-time, and when I was teaching part-time, I think they had what was referred to as Southeast Asian Awareness Day. You know, it might have been one day, it might have been 2 days, but when I got hired full-time, so I wanted to have something called Asian American Week, because back then there was like Black History Month, as there is now Women's History Month, so forth. So I just wanted to have a week. And so this was the idea back then. And really how it got started was I asked my brother if he would help give me some money, and I would donate some money to start the month. You know what I mean? And so I set up a foundation account. I can't remember the exact amounts we put up, but it might have been $500 or $300 to $500 each. And I started that way. And so I put in different events to commemorate it. One of the events we had was a celebration of martial arts, because my brother's a martial artist, and I am as well. And we have some friends in the martial arts community. And so his idea was that we wanted to showcase martial arts in a non-competitive type of fashion. And we did that. And then I wanted to have kind of like a Asian Culture Day. And so we invited different representation for various Asian groups. And then, and this was probably closer to when you joined our campus, I decided to throw everything together into one day. And so I called it Asian Fest, and I made it grammatically incorrect. So by grammatically incorrect, I put it in as one word. The A in Asian is capitalized, and the F in fest is capitalized, but it's one word. So, you know, and so you saw us kind of like at the beginning, and I would have to credit you for building it, Asian Fest, into what it is. In my mind, it's the biggest Pan-Asian event in the Fresno area. It's not the biggest event because obviously Hmong New Year is way bigger, but in terms of broad representation of Asian groups, I feel it's the biggest one. So that happened. And as the years went by, I started adding more events, and eventually just termed it Asian American Month, spread out, I would say, over the last probably over 10 years, 15 years or so. We might average close to 13, 14, or 15 events for the year. A big part of that is because of all the people that have helped along, and you've helped tremendously on Asian Fest. So I want to tip my hat to you.
Oh, thank you,
I'm
John.
not wearing a hat, but you understand to say.
So, John, I know you've been teaching a long time at Fresno City College, and I've joked around saying Asian Fest should be Cho Fest because really it is your inspiration. Where does this inspiration come from? Where does this creativity? I mean, you're always adding new things, new components. You're a visionary in terms of sharing culture on the campus. Where does this inspiration come from?
Okay. Well, let me give you a response this way. So you gave me an idea of what the questions might be today.
Yes.
And you mentioned inspiration.
Yes.
So I just thought about this probably like 10 minutes ago.
Okay.
But I think it's a accurate representation of it. Let me mention my parents, who both have passed away. Okay. And so actually I end up writing 2 poems about them. But on my mom's side, how I see my mom is she feels very strongly about a few things. Other things she doesn't care about.
Okay.
You know what I mean? So I I don't think we care about exactly the same types of things. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I think that's one part of me that if I feel like this is a big part of my identity, so forth, I want to do the best I can for it.
Mhm.
Okay. To not have any regrets.
Sure.
Okay. Then from my father's side, I feel my father carries the message that do the right thing. You should do what you are responsible for. You know what I mean? Case in point would be, and my family had a restaurant, Chinese restaurant before. So if I take that and I pretty much did everything at the restaurant. So, I wash dishes. And so if I'm washing dishes, I want to wash the dishes the best way I can. Okay.
Love it.
So I take those 2 aspects as my inspiration, that while I'm here at Fresno City College, I want to do what I can because I do care very much about my position, my title as Asian American Studies instructor, so forth. I want to do what I can in that regards, so that after when I leave, I have no regrets. I think that's a good attitude for people to have in their life. Do the best you can. Let the chips fall where they are.
That's awesome. I mean, I'm so inspired by your creativity. Creativity is so important. I think sharing culture in new ways, and Asian Fest does that, and we try and add new things. But being creative, you've written how many books of poetry now? 2, I
Oh,
believe.
just one.
Oh, one. Okay, I thought it was 2.
No,
But
it's just one.
and I know
I'm working
this
on
month.
plays.
Yeah. This month of April, John, you are going to be reading from is it 88 poems?
88 poems.
88 poems. And so I know with the pandemic, it's kind of changed things around and we weren't able to have Asian Fest this year. I'm feeling like the Year of the Tiger is going to be our, redemption year. So Year of the Tiger should be pretty good, which is next year. But John, you've had many different students. You've had Asian American Club. What do you want your students to experience, or what do they experience in your class besides learning about history? What do you push on your students?
I would say a big part of it. I think I'm speaking for a lot of teachers as well. We want our students to think about things. Just to think about things. In other words, if I present an opinion, I don't necessarily want the students to be, yes, he's right. That's not important. What we want students to do is to open up their mind, to hear an opinion, to reflect on that opinion, to see if they agree or disagree with it. Because I think once a person does that, Miley, I think they understand themselves better. They understand who they are.
That's so true.
I think that's what we want students to understand themselves. Okay. In my classes, I try to have a variety of tasks or assignments for them to do, because I basically see it as this is a time to prepare student skills. A lot of our students will transfer, the majority go to Fresno State. I want to prepare them so they can also be successful when they transfer. We want to develop, cultivate habits that will help them in the future. What would some of those habits be? The idea of being on time. That's always important when you're working, you know what I mean?
Yes.
To meet deadlines, to attend, you know what I mean? To attend, sort of like skills of, or to be responsible,
Exactly.
to take care of what they should be responsible for. Also, during their time in college, everybody runs into kind of like bumps in the road, barriers, and we want our students to feel that, hey, if this tripped you up, pick yourself up, continue, develop characteristics of diligence, do what you're supposed to, be persistent. You know, it's not like every time you go up to bat in baseball that you're going to hit a home run. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But you work on other things to help you get there. And sometimes you do hit a home run. Okay. So it's trying to be, and you could tell, Miley, I feel I'm a pretty optimistic person.
Oh, yes.
We need to put out effort. If we don't put out effort, we don't accomplish much.
Exactly.
But when we exert ourselves, we can accomplish a lot. I'm not saying that we can accomplish everything, and I don't necessarily believe every student is a straight A student, but I feel, and I've told my classes this plenty of times, don't shortchange yourself. You shortchange yourself when you don't put out effort.
Exactly.
I feel for students in a lot of their classes, they could raise their letter grade by one letter, go from a C to a B, go from a B to A.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Just by themselves. I like to think that we as individuals determine our fate.
So true. So true, John. So, John, as you reflect on the many years of teaching Asian American Studies at Fresno City College, um, what has brought you the most joy?
Okay. I think something that brings me joy is the sense that people, students, and also other faculty members involved in Asian American Month, when something becomes successful, success builds on success. You don't have to have something spectacular, but when you finish an assignment, when you hosted an event, you accomplished something. And I think that goes back to how people see themselves, you know what I mean? And just weigh out everything. Boy, we pulled this off, you know what I mean?
Yes.
You were part of this. When we did Stand with Asians, the
Oh,
first time we
yes.
did it, the 5, 6 people, 7 people involved, it was very successful.
Yeah.
And I
That
think
was
we
very
all felt that
moving.
way. And that impacts how we see ourselves, impacts how we feel about taking on more projects and so forth. So that's very gosh, heartwarming.
Uh-huh.
You know,
Well,
that's
John,
very encouraging.
you're such a passionate individual. I mean, Stand with Asians was just a great experience. And the Vincent Chen story I just heard is going to be made into a movie, because I just read that. I don't know if you've heard that, but you tell that story with so much passion, and it's so painful. It's so moving. I mean, you've probably told that story, gosh.
Every semester.
Yeah, that's a lot of, how do students react to that? How do your students react to that story?
Oh, okay. Well, do you want me to talk about it right now?
If you want to just briefly share some highlights
Okay,
from it.
okay. Like I'll make it brief.
Yeah.
Vincent Chen case happened in 1980, okay? And he was a Chinese American man who was killed by two unemployed white auto workers. And what happened in the case was there was a plea bargain and the two men confessed to killing him, but they were only sentenced to a $3,000 fine and probation. And this really caused a stir in the Asian American community as kind of like a reaction. And so when I talk about this story, it hit me because at that time I was, I think in my early 30s, so forth. And age-wise, Vincent and I we're pretty close. I think I'm 3 years older than him. Okay. And the idea that Asian Americans' life is as valuable as everybody else. The main message I relate to people when I talk about his story is that we as human beings set aside whatever race you are, whether you're white, you're Black, Asian, Hispanic, Native American, that at the core that we are all human beings, that we all have a life that is very valuable for ourselves, for those that surround us, and that people should look at others as the same as themselves, that we all have value. That's the main message.
Mm-hmm. And I'm sure your students are shocked by what occurred, because that was a shocking story. I have to say, when you shared it, I hadn't really heard much about that before growing up. I don't remember hearing that story, but I mean, your students must be shocked by that.
Mm-hmm. Well, I would agree. I would say, generally speaking, if nobody's heard about it, it's also unfathomable.
Mm-hmm.
How can you conceive of a person being restrained, another person wielding a baseball bat, crushing his skull in, and the American criminal justice system can only put probation?
Yeah.
So that is shocking. I would say that in light of the events over the last year or recently, that there will be acts of violence against Asian Americans. But I think the turning point with the Vincent Chin case is that I strongly believe that killers will not get away with probation and a fine.
Right, right.
Because of what happened, because of the reaction in the Asian American community. Thank
you, John. So John, in closing, is there anything else you'd like to share for Asian American Month?
Okay. I would share this. Yes, it's virtual and we only have 3 events, so we don't have as many events as we did. I would say the idea that I want to relate to everybody is to be proud of your ethnic background, whatever your ethnic background is. It doesn't matter. I think when people feel comfortable, feel a sense of connection, a pride with who they are, this is beneficial to our society as a whole. Everybody has worth. Every group in America has a value. At the core, what we share is being American. And I would say, going back to the 14th Amendment in the Constitution, that everybody is equal, entitled to equal rights and protection under the law.
Thank you, John. Well said. I appreciate your time. You're an inspiration to me. You're so amazing.
Good.
You are. But thank you so much for joining the FCC Spotlight for Asian American Month. I appreciate it.
Okay. Thanks, Miley.
See you later. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.